Hey guys, this is Dan with Gears and Gadgets. Thanks for tuning in. So, like an idiot, I dropped my motorcycle helmet, so I had to buy a new one. This is my Shoei RF-1400. Unfortunately, the last press event that I went to, going through airport security, it came across the conveyor. I was trying to get all my stuff together, and it fell off and hit the concrete floor. Now, normally for a drop that was just a couple feet, I probably wouldn't really care all that much, but I've actually ridden with this helmet now for like just over 3 years. It's probably about time with that whole thing happening to just replace it. When it came time to upgrade helmets, I started thinking like, what is it that I am looking for? And I ran across this deal on Temu, and it was just too good to pass up. How bad can a $70 helmet really be? All right, I'm joking. I actually did just order my replacement helmet, and I'll show you guys what it is I'm going with. Let's first find out how terrible a $70 helmet is. First of all, things that come from Temu look like they came from Temu. This box, pretty thrashed. I don't have very big expectations. I spent $70.19 on this helmet with shipping. The total came to a whopping $75. There's literally no packaging in here. It's just a helmet in a bag in a box, and that's about it. It does come with 2 visors, so that is really something else. I love this stuff. Stuff from China it's fun. This thing made me crack up the moment that I saw it. High quality, big bull. This to me just seemed like it was absolutely a attempt to knock off Red Bull. This is why I love like cheap knockoff garbage, is the way that they word things. X clear trans windshield, so this is a trans windshield, linear window stand, and V hard sir. Be cool, world champion, big bull, Dave designs, and of course, I mean, nothing but the highest of quality. The internals, it has them. Look, when I first did my first Ruroc cut in half helmet video, I'm not gonna lie, the reason why I invested in that video was I flat out expected that this is what I would have found. So I wasn't planning on taking this to a Ruroc direction by no means, but just to kind of level set with you guys, the reason why I ended up making videos saying that I actually thought the Ruroc Atlas 4.0 was pretty decent was because after I cut apart the Atlas 3.0, when I cut that helmet apart, there was so much drama going on about Ruroc that I had suspected when I cut that thing apart. This is what I expected to find, is white cooler foam. This is like literally nothing more than just regular white expanded foam that you would find in a cheap Walmart cooler to toss on your head. I would not trust this in a crash to save my life. No chance I will even be riding with this for any reason, but let's see how this thing feels. Oh, it smells so bad. Oh my God. It smells like, oh, whatever glue they used, it smells like roofing tar. Joke is over, but this will stay in my office as my big bull decorative helmet, because this thing is hilarious. What helmet did I decide to go with? I just noticed, I watched a video recently that Cruzy switched over to a Ghost Bandit, and I looked it up and I was like, yeah, it's kind of an interesting looking helmet. I know that Laidlaw has ridden with those Simpsons for a long time, and seeing those two guys kind of going that route, started thinking like, yeah, maybe that's something I'll take a look at. And looked at a bunch of other options, some AGVs, but what did I decide to go with to replace my Shoei RF-1400? Another Shoei. Not only do I love Shoei, but I love my RF-1400 so much that I just went with another one. Going back to a black helmet, I've actually never had a gloss black helmet. I did start riding with my matte black Shoei RF SR. I learned that I do not like matte black helmets because they get so many fingerprints on them and just really hard to keep clean. So I decided, you know what? We're gonna go away from white. I enjoyed the white for a while, wanted to do something a little bit different. When I did the Ruroc videos, a lot of people talk about how they love the fid lock, not having to mess around with the double D-rings. I don't take my helmet off that much to have to worry about fiddling with fid locks with a motorcycle helmet. I did recently pick up this helmet for when I'm riding around with my daughter on the electric bike because I needed something for a cardo. So I needed kind of a full face thing. This kind of helmet, way more sense, because the chances of throwing this thing on, having a magnetic lock, and then literally 10 minutes later or 15 minutes later as we're riding around having to pull this thing off quickly, yeah, magnets, all the sense in the world. If I'm logging a few hundred miles, or even if I'm going across town riding for a half an hour or whatever, if I'm doing anything more than like 10 minutes, I don't mind having to do this. That's not that hard, and I don't think a fid lock is really all that important for a motorcycle helmet. I love Shoei so much. These things are so comfortable. Definitely a snug new helmet, but this is an extra large, which is the size of my giant noggin. This is 61 to 62 centimeters. I think my head measures like literally 61 and a half. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch over all the internals, get the Pack Talk Pro, the Cardo on here.
So this video started out, I thought I was going to do just kind of like a joking $700 versus $70 motorcycle helmet and actually go out and ride with both of them, but that $70 helmet is so atrocious, which isn't surprising to me. I kind of anticipated that to be the case, but I didn't anticipate me being genuinely afraid to ride with it. So all jokes aside, look, when I dropped my old RF-1400 off of that security checkpoint conveyor belt, I probably would have been fine. Those small drops I don't tend to get super hung up on, but between that and also just kind of wanting to go back to a black helmet, I just figured, you know what, it's probably a good time to do it. Now, if I was really all that concerned about the drop, I could have just switched over to probably my old RF-1200, maybe even gone with the Ruroc Atlas 4.0, which I have. But when it comes to these helmet videos, I take it super serious. You know, the whole Ruroc thing, I still think that Atlas 4.0 is a pretty decent helmet, but I have zero faith in Ruroc as a company and an organization to faithfully execute on a plan. So I just don't even want to throw a Ruroc on my head, even with me being totally confident safety-wise that it would be okay. But I just don't want to put that on my head and even ride around and have people think that I am somehow then endorsing the company. So when I went to look at helmet options, yeah, sure, I could have reached out for a sponsorship, but you know, this video, it's sponsored by me and my money and what I decided to buy. I'll drop a link to this in the description down below because I do have affiliate links that do help the channel out. It doesn't cost you guys anything. But when I bought this helmet from RevZilla, I could have bought any helmet that RevZilla sells and made a video talking about it and shared that experience. As I mentioned earlier, I saw some people have been riding with Simpsons and I thought about giving it a shot, but when it comes to safety and, you know, motorcycle stuff like that, I feel like I would rather give you guys an organic recommendation of what it is I've been riding with for years now, and that is Shoei. They're not paying me to say that. I don't have any contacts at Shoei, but for what it's worth, this is a genuine recommendation of what it is that I'd ride with. As I'm recording this video, this helmet was just over $600 or somewhere like $650 range. It's not cheap, but when it comes to protecting your dome, I don't think that skimping out is something that you really want to do with budget. That's just my opinion. That's kind of like the idea of that $70 helmet. There's not even a chance that I would ride with that thing. If anything, it might actually hurt you more if you fall and hit the ground. than it would protect you. So helmets, good helmets are not cheap, but they should last you 4 to 5 years. In terms of ventilation, I'm only comparing my experiences between the RFSR, the RF-1200, and the RF-1400. They all ventilate pretty well. As I'm riding right now, it is 104 degrees outside in Phoenix. So I have plenty of experience in riding in high temps. Anytime you get behind a windscreen like this, you're automatically going to hurt the ventilation of a helmet because there's not really air hitting the actual vents themselves. And then I make it even worse by throwing a camera in front of the chin vent here. So, you know, I can speak to this helmet in terms of my experience with ventilation. It's hot out here, and yes, my head is sweating, and it's going to sweat in any helmet that I have. The big deal with ventilation is how the air is pulled through the helmet, so that as you're sweating, you're getting that cooling effect through the sweat off your head. And I think the RF-1400 does a fantastic job with cooling. I've also ridden with this helmet in cooler temps and have had great experiences also, you know, not getting too cold. I think it's just an overall all-around great helmet. Sound deadening for me, I think it's also fantastic. On a bike like this, which the exhaust isn't super loud, this is a Press Fleet Indian Pursuit, fully decked out. Not a super loud bike. I don't feel the need to have to throw earplugs in. I did on the ride back from California to Phoenix, because that was just like anytime I'm going to be on a bike for many hours, I'll tend to just go to earplugs because it's better for your hearing to do that. In terms of just around town, I don't feel the need to do earplugs. And the Cardo Pack Talk Pro that I have on this helmet, which has the 45mm speakers, I just did a video on that recently. Even the 40mm, they work totally fine when you add earplugs into the equation. If anything, I actually feel like I can hear my music better because it kind of cuts out a lot of the wind noise out of the equation. But the RF-1400, very quiet helmet from what I've ridden. The safety aspect of it, being a Snell rated helmet, fantastic. Again, if you want to start talking about, oh, Snell versus ECE, there's videos that dive into that. And I feel like that's really getting into a lot of like deep dive spec sheet type stuff of which one you think is better. But I think if you're going to talk about Snell versus ECE, this is kind of, like I said, nitpicky on spec. So, big fan of the RF-1400, spent my own money on it, wanted to share with you guys kind of why I go this route. Tried and true, trusted brand for me, and something that I would absolutely recommend to you guys as well, just based on the experiences that I have had. I'll have a video on this Indian Pursuit in the near future. I have put 657 miles on this bike now. I basically got it with no miles on it, and it's been pretty awesome, but I want to do a very long-term review and plan on doing that with this bike. So again, thank you guys very much for tuning in. If this is your first time tuning in, please hit that subscribe button down below. Remember, likes go a long way to help support the channel. I'll see you guys next time. I'll throw this in as a little extra to the video. Color, white versus black. I haven't noticed the difference. When I switched to white, I was interested to know, like, hey, is this going to feel that much cooler? And I didn't really ever notice like a big difference between the two. I think that when you talk about like the color of a helmet, there's so much styrofoam between you and the outer shell. It's basically like a cooler. That effect of the color, I think, is very much muted by how much material is between you and your dome. And as long as you're moving and the air is flowing through it, I would be hard pressed to think that there's much of a difference at all. So I decided to go back with the black helmet. Man, these bikes have so much power.